Well, hello. I'm here. How's it going? So this is the first time I scheduled something kind of far out and then decided to go with it. So maybe we'll just wait a little bit and let people come into the chat. If you're here, let me know what your card is. Well, hello. What is your birthday, M. Williams? We'll start with you. Actually, I said I was going to start with the Four of Clubs. Oh, and you're the Four of Spades. Queen of Diamonds. Interesting. So we've already got a theme of fours. Oh, I'm so glad. I did this for people just such as yourself so could plan and catch me. So here I am. So how's everybody doing today? How do you feel? So my guides are stepping in already and saying, go with, let's see, Ogunberu Damilola, Four of Clubs. If you're here, let me know and I'll describe your card. Otherwise, I'll just go with the hello, Green Knight. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm not feeling. Hi, Jason. Not really feeling like totally into this morning, but and that's always my hesitation with scheduling a lives. I'm like so subject to my feelings and how I'm doing, so I'm just kind of like today. I'm just like no. It's raining in Colorado. It started raining last night, and it's been raining softly all night and into the morning, and it's just great. I mean, we just love it. But it's kind of a subdued vibe. So anyway, let's start with the Four of Spades. So it is a much more rare card, just in terms of the population. So what I have come to understand about the Four of Spades, in fact, here's kind of an esoteric take. Your wife's card. Oh gosh, there's a nexus already. This is so cool. Okay, so this observation started out with the sevens because I'm a seven of diamonds. And as I began to understand each of the sevens, there is a definite, very direct meaning about each one of the numbers. The seven is about attachment and sensitivity. But when I got to the Seven of Spades, there was a very different quality to it. And I described it as a spine of steel. I've nicknamed it the righteousness card because these people can be kind of self-righteous and judgmental, and this is how you should do it. And there's a perfectionism that goes with the seven, but there is a certain confidence level that comes in with the spade as though they're turning and looking at all of the other sevens and they're like, here's what you need to come to. So it's like an arrival or a wholeness kind of energy. And of course, it's not without ego and all of that. So your partner has the Three of Diamonds. Okay, so that's interesting because the numbers on either side of a number have a huge influence on it. So how is a 4 expressing 3 and 5? So we'll be getting into that. So if fours give you an inoculation of insecurity so that you can develop security, what would the Four of Spades be? We know that one interpretation is a physical house, stability, dwelling, a sense of security. So what I observe about the Four of Spades is similar to the 8. They're always similar to their doubles. 8 of Spades is unconditional confidence. So the Four of Spades is like unconditional security. And it doesn't mean that they feel that way all the time, but they exude this kind of energy that is supporting, and makes other people feel safe and secure. Wow. Is that why it's our Mars card? Eight of Spades. Very good question. Okay, so let's get out the pure and we'll get the mundane. I don't know if we'll go into the ascension chart so much today, but yes, so what they're talking about is here's the Four of Spades. Yes, I will speak on the Five of Spades. I do have a lot to say about that. So we're getting into 3, 4, 5 this morning. So the Four of Spades, Mercury, Venus, Mars, its descending card is the Mars, and it expresses itself in, in terms of career, action, passion. So, yeah, that Four of Spades, I would say, I've nicknamed it the teddy bear. It's got this tender, the perfect example of this card that I came up with is, so my brother's wife, so my sister-in-law, her dad, so like I'm not technically related to these people and I see them very infrequently, Christmases and holidays throughout the years. And one day he just comes up to me at one of these Christmases and says, he's a Four of Spades, and he said, "I pray for you every day." And he is not the kind of man to say something lightly or to just try to impress you with it. Like, it was just, "I support you unconditionally." And I was like, wow. So there's a powerful energy of the sevens that experience themselves as participants in their community and responsible to give something back, to hold space for something, to be a vibration of something. So it's kind of a Capricorn feel. Each one of the suits has kind of a planetary astrological thrust to it. I was thinking about this the other day and kind of going through each one. The hearts are definitely kind of a moon influence. Clubs are kind of mercurial, but also they're very Mars. Clubs have a very, let's get down to it, even though it's just, mind, consciousness and stuff. It's mercurial because it's mind, but it's also very task oriented, very logical. The diamonds are, what sign, what energy? There's a lot of fire, passion. I would say the fire signs with the diamonds, definitely. There's kind of a Leo feeling, a Aries ambition, a Sagittarius adventure action. And the spades are Capricornish, like containing everything. So yeah, that's curious, isn't it? So let's see. One more thing about the Four of Spades. Always look at the planetary intersections. So in the mundane descending, we have the intersection of vertical Venus and horizontal Jupiter. And isn't that just the expression that I just described? The Venus is very relational, very loving, very people-oriented, and the Jupiter is expansive, positive, inspirational, supportive, cheerleader. So that really describes the personality that they inhabit. And have you noticed that cards right next to each other also tend to have kind of intense relationships with each other? Like sevens and eights have a lot of karma card relationships. Fours and fives do as well. So 4 is security, stability, something that's consistent, predictable, and changing. Whereas the 5 is very dynamic. It's just the opposite. And you have to have one to have the other. And I think that's why they're so connected. So if you're a 5, the 5 of clubs in particular, one of your karma cards is the 4 of clubs. So 4 of clubs can have a very solid, stable energy about them, but underneath there's just this grist of restlessness and curiosity. And haven't you found that just in any situation, you get stability for a while and then you crave variety and change? Or if you're someone who's more into variety and change, and odd cards generally are, like the 5 of clubs, you have to have a foundation of clarity and security to start out from before you go into this realm of adventure. So, what really marks the Five of Clubs is curiosity. And the very first image I got of a Five of Clubs, it was with a Five of Clubs child, actually. And what I saw was this highly sensitive being who is the contrast, and there's always some kind of contrast or paradox with each card. The contrast is they're very curious, but they're very sensitive. So there's this need to adventure, explore, experience all kinds of different things and people, and but there's a really profound need for security and for safety. They're really sensitive people, so they can present in a certain way, but be something very different inside. And I think that must be very tricky to balance for them. I've encountered a few Five of Clubs who took up the practice of meditation, and that's the Four of Clubs. We could call that meditation or sanity, clarity, and they practiced this, and it made them much more balanced and integrated. So how is the 3 and the 4 related? So the 4 is about stability and security and a sense of, well, logically, this is what we're going to do or how it's going to go. But then the 3 is like this agitation that's like, but what if we experiment? What if we try something? What if there's this? It's like the 5, but it's more like, I don't need an answer. I don't need a dualistic kind of expression of something like this or this. It's like the 3 is more like both and. And I think that's the conundrum that 3s are faced with sometimes, is they feel like they have to choose one or the other. But then maybe they come to this place of like, well, the presence of both are here. Let's just be with that presence. So they kind of agitate each other. The 4 is asking the 3 to come to a conclusion. Be solid, be predictable. And the 3 is like, well, but there's all this other stuff. So let's see. So answering the question, the 5 of Clubs, and I'll take another question here because I feel like maybe we're ready to move on to something else. But at the moment, I'll talk more about the esoteric, like, because I feel like my vibration isn't super high today. It's harder to connect with the esoteric, transcendent meanings of the cards, but the transcendent meaning of a 5 is presence. Like there's a lot of stimulation, 360. They tend to be a little ADD, but if you can just bring presence, the present moment. So the number of archetypes of the 5 are the scientist, because they're observing, the 5 in the Enneagram. And in my certification course, in one of them, I'm going to require Enneagram study and possibly numerology, because it's so fundamental and it really expands and enriches. It makes your understanding of a number much richer. And there's a very high correlation between your Enneatype and your card. There's not always a direct parallel, but there's always a very strong correlation of some kind. So yeah, the scientist, the traveler, and the child. Like the sign of Leo is number 5. So the traveler is always in the present. That's the adventure of travel, the new stimulation. But what's the fulfillment of it is to be in that, like say the little city square. You're in Mexico or you're in Europe. To sit in that city square, to feel the air, to feel the color of the light, to taste the food, to just experience. That's the key word for the 5. They want to experience. Can they slow down enough to actually have the experience? So Jason has made a comment. Communication is very challenging for me as a 3 of diamonds. In the perfect spread, the 3 of diamonds sits in the Saturn-Mercury junction. Is that challenges, limitations of Saturn-Mercury communication? Excellent question. Yeah, one of their challenges definitely is communication. I think Self-doubt is a part of that. I think inhabiting the Mercury line on top with the personality, there can be that mercurial, I'm just not sure of myself, or maybe this, or maybe that, a little erratic. You're welcome, Melissa Sarah. Making oneself clear. I think they're compelled whenever you feel a lack of something, or something that's just like, oh, I'm always trying to get this. I talked about this in my Saturn video. You become a student of something. Saturn is the teacher, and your Saturn card is your classroom. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. So your Saturn is the Jack of Hearts. It's really about love and being unselfish and really opening your heart to something and someone. So I would say that that may be a key of your communication. The Five of Clubs on the ascending, as the communicator card ascending, is maybe it tends to dart all around or want to be all inclusive with information or learning. So there's always a sense of it changing. So maybe communication is very dynamic. What do I want to say? It's just like, it's all there. And the Ace of Spades is a secrecy card. So that's about the Three of Diamonds being a little compelled to withhold information. And I think that's a tempering energy, to temper all the stuff that's going on in there and the complexities. The Three of Diamonds is a very complex hand. I think it can only really be understood by studying the complexity of its hand. The Three of Diamonds itself it's kind of a mystery to me. Right, I have a secret. I don't know how to communicate it. That's a very clear expression, which you just did. You very clearly expressed your internal state. So I would say, because hearts underlie your entire hand, that's the key for you, is to be in your emotional body, to be aware of it, to really connect with it in order to communicate who you are. And that's what I'm hearing, not just what you're doing and what you're thinking, but who you are, what your experience of being you is like. My guides are saying you're the poster child for that. That's tricky. And men who are the Three of Diamonds have the advantage, or the easy crutch. I've seen sometimes men who are odd cards tend to gravitate towards their king of diamonds, because it's in the Mars line, it's straightforward, it's logical, it's commanding, it knows what it's going to do next. And sometimes that can be kind of an escape from that internal battle that you deal with, the complexity of being the Three of Diamonds. Oh, how funny that you actually, yeah, so if people are watching the replay, they can't see the comments. Melissa says, that's interesting. You mentioned Mexico and Europe. I recently was visiting there. I'm originally from the US, and Jason lives in Mexico 15 years now. Little nexus around that. So have you guys looked into, I'm not going to go into this, but we know as the United States, we're the Jack of Diamonds. Japan is the Ace of Spades, and I had a couple of Japanese clients when I was working out of a store in Boulder for a while, and we discussed that, and I was like, oh, this is a card of secrecy. And she said, oh, yes, Japan, the country of secrecy. Like, she said it like it was just this monolithic thing that was just like such a pain in the ass. But yeah, countries and their cards, it's very fascinating to study that, and then study their relationships to each other. Land of the Rising Sun. Yeah. Red blood. Not sure what that means. But anyway, okay, so moving on. I'm just going to sort of open up and ask my guides. Okay, they gave me sort of a transcendent interpretation of the seven. So on the seven, think about the sevens in your life and the sevens in your hand. So for the Three of Diamonds, This is your Mars card. For the Four of Spades, this is your, I call it like bull Jupiter, or Seven of Diamonds, you go up, it's Venus. So Jupiter, kind of a positive, easier vibration. Sevens. So the mystery of the seven, if you look at this, look at the pips in there with the seven. See how there's one pip that's off center. Well, what I see there is not one pip that's off center. I see the presence of a pip, and I see the balanced absence of a pip. So the transcendent experience or expression of that, and yes, this might be true of other cards that have something off kilter like that, or it's the only one that does that, that is truly asymmetrical in its expression. It's exactly between the king and the ace. So it's like you can think of it as kind of an apex, or feeling the balance of everything around them. They're usually a prophet to the king sort of archetype. They don't seek power. Well, not all of them, you know, but not to say they're not controlling, but the seven has that transcendent wisdom of the yin and the yang living within them. So there's everything and there's nothing. It can get really esoteric. I remember doing a meditation of the yin and yang symbols one time, and no matter how, it was like a slick thing covered with oil. I couldn't get a grip on it because one kept becoming the other. Oh, this contains this, but this contains this. And the yin yang symbol is meant to be understood as something that's in motion, something that is complete and being, and integrating structure. So I think that's one reason sevens can struggle with sanity, bipolar, because they contain within themselves these opposites. And oof, just be with it, man. Pineapple Empress. That's hilarious. I'd love to know about the Ace of Spades. I would love to talk about that. The Magician card. Yeah, so the Ace of Spades, I was talking to Dr. Sue yesterday, and she's created a special chart for understanding your business, the card of your business. And according to that chart, my business is the Ace of Spades, and the card system itself is the Ace of Spades. Robert Camp has the most to say about the Queen of Spades and the Ace of Spades. So that should tell you a lot right there. It is the esoteric gateway, the mystical. And if we think of all of the aces and then get to the spade, maybe we'll unlock something. So aces are a seed energy that create desire. Yeah, Queen of Spades, Queen Bee. I love that card. When you meet them, they're a little overwhelming, but there are very few of them. So they're this archetype of like, I've got my shit together, which of course not everyone does, but they can be an expression of that. It's self-mastery, right? Anyway, getting back to the Queen of Spades. Let's look at what they are to each other in the pure spread. Hey, sweetie, can you make me some coffee? Maybe. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn, Jupiter. They are Jupiter plus plus. They have a very positive relationship, Queen of Spades and Ace of Spades. Yeah, they're very powerful people. So aces, it's a seed energy that provokes desire. It's initiation. It's a pioneer kind of energy, risk taker. I'm starting this thing. Initiation energy. I'm going to initiate. The Nike swish is actually an ancient Tibetan Buddhist symbol that's called the Ashe. And it represents primordial movement. Like, boom. It's like when you make a check mark, that's how it feels. And that's the energy of the ace. In fact, it's upside down from that, isn't it? It's like this. It's very pointed. It's very specific. And of course, being very self-focused, that's a neutral way of saying it. They're self-focused because that's their job. That's their purpose. Experiencing aloneness, loneliness, individuality. So the Ace of Spades, rather than having that kind of the negative ion energy of like, I'm not complete, I'm seeking, I'm needing something, I'm wanting something. You get the Ace of Diamonds, you want money. You get the Ace of Clubs, you're curious, you need information. Ace of Hearts, you're lonely, you need love. The Ace of Spades seems to be very content to be alone. It is an essential aloneness, essential oneness. And maybe the objective of the Ace isn't aloneness, but oneness. The transcendent experience and understanding of an Ace is oneness. So, Jason, having that as your Mercury card or your ascending moon card, being in that transcendent understanding that everything comes together in a wholeness. I just remote viewed something this morning, and this is so perfect for this moment. I do it when I want to just kind of empty myself and just get on that signal line and just pick up data and put all my stuff to the side. And the tasking I pulled out of my box turned out to be describe the current timeline. Fascinating question, right? Well, my human self wants to know who's going to be president. What about the border? What about, how are we doing as a species? Where are we going? Are we all going to blow up? These very mundane sort of things. And it was like talking to someone who had died. When I do remote viewings like this, I get some guide who is obviously me, who's like, let's be all transcendent about this. And to have patience to wait for it. Yeah. Oh, very good. Yeah. Patience. Exactly. With the signal line, the remote viewing. So what I got with this remote viewing was a kind of wholeness and a perfection. Okay, I see that. Princess Diana. Oh, sorry. I'm going to make this point and then I'll read your comment because I lose my train of thought really easily. So what I was shown, and again, I didn't know what I was looking at. There was just this beautiful artistic line that ended up with this beautiful curve that I was like, that's the signature. And when I kind of probed it, it was a divine signature. It was the creator, and I did 3 different viewings of this. And it was basically the story is the creator is very satisfied. I kept calling it the maker, which is all of us. We're all contained in that oneness. We're making this up as we go along. But there was this satisfaction, this contentment, this incredible balance and beauty. And the more granular I looked, the more I could see these components of masculine and feminine. There was cool, there was warm, there was pointed, there was round, there was square, there was organic. All these different components were in there. And it was just like, it was beautiful, it was perfect, it was amazing. And it also felt like a point was trying to be made, and that the maker, think of us being the maker, making more and more concrete, like you're communicating with a child and you're like, okay, this. But there was a little pocket of information contained with each one of these expressions, which contained it was like the Akash. It was this sparkly like air vapor that was like, even though what is being expressed with our current timeline seems pretty square, kind of limited in a sense. A point is being made about something, and we have access to this infinite information about what it is, even in its simplicity, which, God, that really is what it feels like. It's like certain things are being made obvious. That's where we are. That's the kind of most mundane satisfaction I can get out of it. Okay, Pineapple, I have the same birthday as Princess Diana. I can relate to her in many ways. I seem to have trouble finding love, not feeling seen for my authentic self. And I'm the one who always lets them go. That's really packed. Yes, so here is the Byron Katie turnaround with that. Your job is to to see, to be, to behold, to cherish your authentic self. That's always the point with an ace, but your ace brings more resources to the table, a lot of wisdom, having access to what's beyond the veil. And that seven of hearts sitting in that position, that could be part of the karma of heartbreak. But I've also heard it said, Rumi was the seven of hearts. And he said that heartbreak, the broken open heart, the tears, the pain, that bleeding sensation of broken relationship or heartbreak, disappointment, is the elixir of enlightenment. It's the wine, it's the fine wine. And it truly is. I mean, nothing has the power to undo you like relationship, right? I am so compassionate that you're having this experience, because as a seven of diamonds, my classroom is the two of hearts. And it's like I'm this like sweet little Christian child having no intention of living this wild life of sampling many, many different relationships. I'm like, I'm just going to do the white picket fence and child and then, Sunday school teacher, be a teacher. And I ended up just having tons and tons of relationships because it was my classroom. So I totally get that. And at the end of one of them that was only 2 or 3 months long, the most surfacey one of all of them, I finally broke down and had the experience of being emotionally crucified. Yikes, talk about Jack of Hearts in Venus, right? And it's like that's what it had to come to. There was a dissolving of self and ego in some way that, I don't know, when you have that experience, sometimes the words just don't come to you, but something's being alchemized in you that can't be alchemized any other way. So the Ace of Spades is you are you, be you. You are the poster child for an individual with very good boundaries and a sense of self-respect. I know where I end and others begin. I'm very clear. I have these boundaries. The personal lives, can be kind of challenging. And one of the first things I used to say about it, and each generation inhabits their cards differently. It takes less trauma to get you there, is the basic theme that I've seen. But with older Ace of Spades, there can be in a past life like suicide. There can be like really severe abuse in early childhood. There's definitely a betrayal theme that you're working with. And it's in the face of that betrayal that you choose yourself. That's the Ace of Spades. How does that land with you? It feels a little harsh to me, but that's what came through. So like it's delivered with compassion, but that's how I see it. So, oh, look at, he gave me some coffee. Stuart, do you have a question about being the 3 of clubs? Do you have a little comment or contribution? Oh, come on.
No.
This needs some sweetener, honey.
What?
It needs some sweetener. It's like
I put the almond milk in it.
Oh,
Here,
it's
I'll
not
give you the
enough.
honey.
Yeah, I really appreciate this. Every day resonates. I'll be doing a personal reading with you soon. Oh, I so look forward to that. And oh, thank you so much, honey. Honey. My 12-year-old son is a 2 of spades. That's a very tricky card. I geeked out on it for a while. My daughter is with the 2 of spades. I have a long-term client who's partnering with the 2 of spades, and a dear friend of ours who sort of came back into our sphere is the 2 of spades. So I was just like geeking out on it. So there's a whole video on it. If you go back through my lives, you'll find one. But they seem to need to attach themselves to something, and it becomes their purpose. They themselves somehow, and maybe this is their Ace of Spades right next to them, so you guys have so much to learn from each other. Does it feel like a sibling relationship sometimes? They themselves seem kind of removed. That Ace of Spades Moon and or Mercury, because it's both when it's right next to you, ascending and descending. It's a very clear sense of self. And it's the thing about the Two of Spades is this theme is that they kind of seem all alone. Oh, that's so precious that you had when you were young. So you act more like siblings. That is so precious and just very intentional. And I know you get that. It's just clear as day to me that that was very intentional. So there's a kind of solidarity of self for this Two of Spades that kind of sits under everything. But the downside of it is I'm all alone. Nobody will help me. I'm on my own. I have to figure this out by myself. And you look at them and you go, oh, you're so precious. You're so valuable. You're not alone. But on a psychic level, they really feel kind of cut off and isolated. And I'm still trying to figure out why that is. So this is a principle that I use is collect up 3 of them, be able to triangulate on that single card and just draw out the similarities and allow that to inform you. Say, okay, there's the territory. Now let me look at the map and look at the keys and see if I can figure this out. So Two of Spades sits in Uranus. Uranus. God, I always forget that. So hello, there's something about Uranus that's like, I am the odd man out. I am so weird. I am the round peg in a square hole. And when you think, I've always felt like the 7 of Diamonds is Uranian in its essence. But when you look at the pure spread, the 2 of Spades is descending Pluto. So it's like we've got this direct relationship, or it's Moon Mercury. It's just one position away. So I have that experience too. Maybe that's why I have such a what's the word? It's just a smooth, easy connection with Ace of Spades. It could be that relationship. So yeah, and what he looks to you for is, how do I be alone? How do I be? How can I exist in this like self-definition? So the thing about like they seem to need to attach themselves to something, but they themselves remain an individual. And I think they think that they're merging with this thing, this person, this involvement. Like my daughter's boyfriend is so, he becomes a scientist with whatever he's doing. Whether it's coffee or he's doing this bakery thing that he's doing now. He was in a band for years and wrote music, so like highly intelligent. Okay, so Spade, living in the Spade line down at the bottom of the deck there, they're at the bottom. This is what I mean down here with all these spades sitting under. Think of the thrust of the suits, and there will only be 1 or 2 that sit under your cards. Think of the thrust. And for the 2 of Spades, every single one of their cards descending from their moon to their King of Spades is a spade. They have the entire suit of spades, so they have a lot of wisdom. They have a lot of experience. They feel like the old soul. And what I get about your son just tuning into him is it's this contrast of tenderness and hardness, kind of recalcitrant to let tenderness and softness come into him from the outside. So it's like he has to be really strong, but he himself is just incredibly tender. I also sense a very powerful mind with him that he needs to exercise that mind and jump forward and pursue things and explore and experiment. So in the descending, yeah, he's in Neptune with a lot of even cards, and you guys have a Saturn relationship, past life Saturn. So you sit under the 2 of Clubs, and the 2 of Spades is Saturn to that. So yes, definitely a teaching, learning relationship. I'm just wondering what else to talk about esoterically. Yeah. That's kind of my superpower. Is I discovered this in high school, is that I could look at a photograph of my friend, and I were looking at the yearbook, and she was like pointing to these various people, and suddenly I went like into the photograph, and I could figure out what all their issues were and everything. And I maybe had seen them in the hallway, but I didn't know them. And that's my gift, and I'm very careful not to be invasive with it. But my daughter regularly calls me. She's like, I have a client coming in for a massage, and what does she want from me? What's her deal? And I'm able to just get a very respectful sense of like, okay, this is where she's coming from. This is what she needs from you. Anyway, so if you have a question about somebody that you want me to check in with, I definitely can do that. Even like right here, right now, like, gosh, I'm wondering about that guy that I work with. What's his deal? That might be a little invasive. It almost feels like spiritual gossip sometimes. But if your guides want you to know, that's kind of what I rely on, is they deliver this information. Okay, how do these energies work the 52-day periods? Thank you, Jason, for that lead. In the human design, my strategy is to respond. So when I do these lives, I need something to respond to. I'm trying to create my own thing to respond to, but thank you for that question very much. So the 52-day periods. So if we're going to talk about, like, tell me a card that you have in your 52-day period right now. I'll talk about 7 while I'm waiting for you to figure that out. But when you have a 7 in your 52-day period, it will be you will be called to an internal place. You'll be your I'm a Sun 52 in HD. Oh, human design. I don't understand that. But is that the profile? Anyway, when you get a 7 in your 52-day period, you're going to be drawn inward. You'll be triggered. Yeah, tell me more about your human design. I love that. I'm kind of beginning / intermediate with it. Your attachments are going to come up. You're going to be triggered. And like, we tend to look at them like, ooh. Let's see, do I have, well, just tell me how old you are. And I can look up your grid and tell you exactly what your 52-day, if you know what your planetary period is, I can go run and get the book, but I'm pretty good at guessing those at this point. So when you go into a period that has a challenging card like a 7, also know that you're going to walk away with a lot of really rich insights that could really dramatically shift your perspective. It's like time for a staff meeting, time for the internal, time for the group to go internal and examine what's going on. Let's look at the operating system. So a 7 will reveal to you your attachments, but it's also a very cheerful, uplifting energy. There's a inherent spirituality about it. There's an inherent fairy energy with the 7. So you can also just program yourself to be like, I'm going to be delighted during this period, but also like willingness. I'm willing to see what my attachments are. If you have an 8 in your period, Robert Camp talks about that like it's a protective energy, and it can be. Definitely the even cards, you'll experience that period as more like you're just sailing through it. You're just flowing through it. And that's nice, isn't it? And life isn't always like that. But, you know, with the 8, your power issues may come up, power and control. You may have a sense like it's very subjective. So as a 7, I need to work with my 8 a lot. I need to develop it. I need to develop a sense of sovereignty, power, the ability to choose. I am the decider kind of energy. And so when an 8 comes up and I'm going to just naturally feel that, which is like such a relief to me. But somebody who is an 8, they may really, you know, it may accentuate their ego fixations, kind of make them more apparent. So it really depends on your relationship to that card. Um, I'm kind of blank at the moment. Oh, good. I am 160 days into this year. Isn't that interesting? I don't ever look at that number. So I would be in the 4 period, I think. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter. I just entered the Jack of Diamonds, the Jupiter card, I think. Okay. So a Jack. How does a Jack operate in a 52-day period? I have to say it's one of my favorite vibrations because it will be fun, creative, able to see the humorous side of things, maybe a little mischievous, a little irresponsible. Usually when we think of the prince in a family or the princess, we think of that very often in a negative light, like, oh, they get all the privileges with none of the responsibilities. Well, just think about that. How much fun would that be? Unlimited funds? What's there to motivate you but your own creative, I think I'll do this. I mean, it's a sense of incredible freedom. So, whatever your issues may be with freedom, whatever programs you might have around freedom or entitlement, unworthiness, that may come in. And that's why, have you noticed, like, oh, I've got the Jack of Spades, and my only friend who's the Jack of Spades, like, called me during this period. And that's because you're supposed to be working with that energy so to show up. How do we calculate this transit using our birth card? Well, tell me, remind me what your card is, and then just tell me how old you are. And the Destiny Cards book has it all laid out. But if you get the 45 grids, quadrations, then you just locate your card in the year of your age, and then you can see your hands descending and ascending. And then there's every 52 days it changes. I don't know if that was your question. It was a very elemental explanation. Brenda, hi. Jack of Diamonds sits in the Jupiter-Mercury spread in 47. Okay, you're 47. Very good. So we'll look at age 47. Here you are. Here's 47. Okay, I'm looking for 3 of diamonds. There it is. You're right smack dab in the middle in Jupiter, Mars. So maybe it's a very motivating year for you. Taking action, feeling optimistic. And then the descending Jupiter is Jack of Diamonds. Let's look at ascending Jupiter, which is Ace of Clubs. So if you make the statement about the relationship between the two, Jack of Diamonds, industry, creativity, being an entrepreneur, having fun with life, innovation, and being set free to do all those things and think about all of that sets you free to, or it gives you self-knowledge. So what you find yourself creatively drawn to during this Jupiter period will reveal something to you about yourself. It represents a beginning into new knowledge and new information. So yeah, you're learning a lot, and you might not even realize how much you're learning during this period. So yeah, Jupiter, Mercury is like information that will be uplifting, that will enlighten, expand, make you feel positive. Pineapple Empress, Ace of Spades, 30 year. Okay, thank you. So I am, you know, guys, you know what? On one of my lives, and I'm transitioning officially right now for all 6 of you, 7 of you that are here, this is going to be a Q&A. I'm just going to read you. Ask me whatever you want, and I will read you. I do that on my Facebook Lives, which I did consistently for a couple of years, and then I just dropped off of Facebook. We all need to take our breaks from it, right? Because it like fucks with your head, with your ego. So I took a wonderful break for several years, and I did a live on there about a month ago, and it was so much fun. I mean, it's like a living room. So I do it from my personal channel or whatever page on Facebook, which is just my name. So find me there. And if we do lives there, it's just, there's a different energy to it. It's much more interactive, and it's like you're just hanging out in somebody's family room. So let's look at age 30. and the Ace of Spades. Right? That is such an insightful thing, Jason. I never know what I learn until I look back. It takes a lot of pressure off. It's like you are learning, you are morphing, you're getting it, and then, yeah, that's why, looking back at the cards, at the periods you've passed through, my guides do that a lot when I'm looking at people to help you appreciate, where you are and how far you've come. So where's the Ace of Spades at age 30? You are in the 10 of Diamonds position, or we think of the Queen of Spades position at horizontal Uranus, vertical Mercury. So it could be an expansion of consciousness here. But I'm getting a feeling of hesitation with this positioning for you. And why is that? There's something unfamiliar. Okay, that's the energy of Uranus when we're kind of in a fear and resistance or lack of confidence. And I'm not saying you are. This is just what I'm picking up. And there's something unfamiliar or uncomfortable. Uranus can be really scary because things come out of left field. Those garbage cans came out of nowhere. King of Clueless. Anyway, that placement is really about being able to understand and communicate a lot of information that's unconventional. Okay,
So let's find out, Pineapple Empress. Find out where you are. Okay, wait, you've told me. July 1st is your birthday. So I would guess that you're in your Saturn. Okay, so your Saturn, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Huh, you have the Three of Diamonds right now. Oh, I love these containers. Three of Diamonds, descending Saturn. That's really got your panties in a bundle, doesn't it? Sorry, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Ascending Saturn, Six of Diamonds. Oh, you made a mistake? You're not 47? Oh, are you quoting the movie? I don't know. Yes, okay. The Three of Diamonds descending Saturn and Six of Diamonds ascending Saturn is I am in the classroom of experimentation. And since that Three of Diamonds sits right next to you in the life spread, you're really being given an opportunity to work with this. I know, right? The body. It's a weird thing. Aging is so weird. I'm just hearing curiosity. Curiosity. And a spade tends to need things to be physical, practical, action-oriented. Give me actionable intelligence. And Uranus is not about that so much. It's a year of expansion into information, and between 28 and 34, you're in a 7-year Saturn period. 7 years. So that's one reason for the heartbreak shit, because the Jack of Hearts is ruling this 7-year Saturn period for you, plus all astrological stuff you have going on with your Saturn return. You're in this ringing out energy is what they're showing me. So it's hard. It's hard when the spirit wants to work with your ego. Anyway, so the Three of Diamonds is experiment. Try not to take things so seriously. Think of things as an exploration. And then the Six of Diamonds ascending is something very practical. That sits in Jupiter, Mercury, uplifting information about your purpose, your destiny, the goal. So if you hang in there and you just kind of keep trying things, don't feel the need to commit to something. That Three of Diamonds is a slippery otter. Otters are playful. They're cute. I nicknamed this card the tenderness card the sweetness card before I really got into it, because these people have a very sweet presentment, like Jason here. Very sweet energy, very approachable. And if they're an older soul, they have humility, especially with that Jack of Hearts and Saturn. It's like, I'm just seeing a semi-truck coming their way as a child and be like, oh, fuck. So they're really humble. So yeah, exercise some humility and trust, faith. Yeah, this isn't card based and just intuitively getting that. Pineapple says, oh, you're in Saturn. Oh, you're not in Jupiter. Okay, let's look at your Saturn period. Yeah, it is. I'm tired, but I'm keeping optimistic. Good. That's one of the assets of being a spade female is there's a realism. That Queen of Spades has a realism, but look at where she sits. She is the Pinnacle card. Think about that. Throw out the 8 of Diamonds for a minute. Throw out the 10 of Diamonds and think of the Queen of Spades in the Pinnacle. That's your personality card. That is your role as a woman, as a female. You know, wife, daughter, mother, all that kind of stuff. That Queen of Spades is truly gracious, in command of herself, and Jupiter is her only influence, which is all about the possibilities. So, 10 of Spades is your, okay. We'll get back to, sorry, I'm picking at this mole on my hand that I'm burning off every night with apple cider vinegar. It really does work. You can get rid of moles that way. Consumer tips from Kismet cards. Okay, so your Jack of Diamonds. No. There's the 10 of Spades. So the descending 10 of Spades correlates to your ascending 2 of Spades. Now, isn't that okay? 57. That's what I have. I have the same pairing. This is fascinating. What did I took out my 57 spread and I'm not going to lose it. Okay, here it is. I have descending 2 of Spades, ascending 10 of Spades. So I have the reverse. So through aligning with myself, I will be able to define what success is. So with getting clear about success, what I'm hearing is do the work. Oh, you're so welcome, Pineapple. It's so funny to call you that. So the 10 of Spades, I'm hearing do the work while you're in this Saturn period. Do the work. It kind of feels like it's being in the grind of just daily life. When it shows up, things tend to feel like you just tend to feel kind of overwhelmed. I always tell people self-care. If you don't have a lot to do and you have a 10 of Spades, it can be despair because it's like all the horsepower is like lined up, ready to go. And if you're not going anywhere, it's just like those horses get really agitated and then it's just like, ugh. But if you have stuff to do, if you're busy, it's like, it just feels like a lot of engines going. And through just like doing the work and being in the grind, you're going to achieve that self-alignment, that ascending 2 of Spades, which is I am aligned with myself. And that's something I didn't point out with the 2 of Spades before, is that one of the meanings of it is to make friends with yourself. It's the friendship card. And all twos, that's the deal, is like with me being in all of those, relationship tests with that 2 of Hearts Saturn, the task was for me to fall in love with myself. So the task of the 2 of Spades is to align with yourself in a way that you're willing to take action with yourself. Like the 2 of Spades will express their friendship by showing up for you. They'll help you move your shit. They'll come over, they'll bring you food, they'll show up in the physical realm for you. They know how to show up on every level. And so the 2 of Spades can have a kind of blindness about themselves and their specialness and their gifts, their abilities, their assets, everything that makes them unique. They can see it in other people really well, but they have a harder time seeing it in themselves. So their task is to see it in themselves, to be their friend, to be their own friend. So you will find a friendship and an alignment with yourself through just slogging through whatever you have to, Jason. That's the hit that I'm getting. Any other questions? Anybody else? Just throw me anything. Throw me any question. Tell me what your age and your card is. And if you know the 52-day period that you're in, and we can look at that.
Anymore, I tend to look at what's going on in my cards and then forget it. I just forget about it. And I don't look at it until I'm feeling distressed. But I really should look at it more often. Okay, let's put 30 back between 29 and 31. Oh, good. Something just popped up. Do you play with other metadata with the cards, like the numeric value of the name? Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. In fact, that thought popped into my head about 15 minutes ago. You can take any word, get the numerology of it, look at the energy of it, and think about it in relationship to the cards. I think we're living in a mesh, a fabric, a very complicated fabric and a mesh. And the cards are one of those languages for the mesh. So yeah, it's all incredibly connected. In fact, even just going into concrete visual symbols with the cards themselves. So think of the spade. It includes all the suits. Like only Richmond came through to me esoterically. We had this full-on conversation, and he said, "You're right. The spade includes all the other energies. That's why it looks like a leaf, because the tree has to have water, all the elements to produce a leaf. So the spade is a leaf, and that's also alchemical with all of the elements. But it's got the heart, it's got the stem of the club, the lobes of the club, and it's got the point like the diamond. So it's all inclusive. 77 would be the Queen of Diamonds, using the same cipher, Chaldean. Oh wow, yeah. I'm not as much drawn to all of these other things, but I think with the card system, it's by its nature, we will learn numerology, astrology, and the archetypes at the very least. And that's where I bring in Enneagram. In other eras, they used it to, like, for planting, like a farmer's almanac. But yeah, I think they're all valid. I'm sorry, I'm not thinking of one in particular. I once did a reading of Jesus. So, like, if Jesus showed up and said, "I want a reading, and here's my birthday, it's the Jack of Hearts." We're like, wouldn't it be the 6 of Hearts? Or the 7 of Hearts? Yeah, 7 of Hearts would make sense, wouldn't it? But historians think his birthday was probably in the spring anyhow. But since the Jack of Hearts is his symbol, like, I did a reading of, and I was like, oh, every single one of these fits. So I think I'm going to close it out here because it's been about an hour. If you have any other burning questions or you would like to share your birthday with me, go ahead. And thank you so much for joining me. It's always so much fun to hang out with you. Jason, what do you do for a living? Oh, well, thank you. It is art, which brings up the 3 of spades. Look at all the cards that are in the intersection of Jupiter and Saturn, or Saturn and Jupiter. You get the 8 of spades and the 3 of spades, and then the other cards that are sitting there, like the 6 of diamonds and the King of clubs. Yeah. You're a webmaster. Awesome. So you're like, you get to just create your own schedule. That's nice. 3 of spades isn't just art. It's what we bring forth from within as a cumulative, the spades are cumulative. The emotions, the mind, and the values all enter into produce something. So whatever comes out in form is your art. It's your 3 of spades. So thank you again for joining me, and have a blessed day. And I'll see you next Saturday. I'll schedule this again for Saturday, unless I find that vibrationally this is just weird for me, because the day of your birthday, this past birthday that you had, is the Mercury day for your whole year. So Saturday is Neptune for me, because my birthday was on Sunday. So maybe I'm a little out of it on a Neptune day. Maybe I should do it on Tuesday because I have a lot more focus on my Mars day. So that's something to play with. That is actually a fascinating study. Okay. Okay, they're telling me to tell you this one more thing. So if you're close to a birthday and you remember to do this, the 7 days preceding your birthday and the 7 days following your birthday, take a few notes on what was the energy of this day. And don't look up any cards, but then do a cross study of, okay, on my Mercury day, it felt this way. On my Mars day, it felt this way. These are the cards. And then you line them all up and you go, oh, it's an imprint of your whole year. That's my theory. And so far, that's kind of working out. Okay. Have a great day. Thank you so much for joining me.